Hello and welcome back to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally and today we are taking a look at some new JW kids cartoons. You know the vibes. I brought ZZ along to hopefully not be too much of a distraction and to provide a little bit of random comedic relief to all of this craziness. Quickly before we get into it, don't forget to drop a like on the video. It helps get the video out to more people on YouTube and keeps the channel from shutting down, essentially. So we like to see it grow and reach as many people as possible. So it only takes 1 second and is very much appreciated. So let's do this.
But it's dark outside, and the rain starts to fall. It would be easy to stay inside, sleepy-eyed.
So this is Watchtower's main source of recruitment. And no, I'm not talking about the prospect of going out in the ministry. It's on the children. This is what children raised as Jehovah's Witnesses are going to be forced to do. It's going to be early in the mornings where it's still dark outside, when they're not a school day. They're going to have to get themselves out of bed, and he's not even old enough to use the sink and brush his teeth without using a step stool. So this is a very small child. And why I say this is their recruitment tactic is he is learning the routine of what it is to be a Jehovah's Witness. The same expectation that you would have for a grown, thinking adult, you're going to transpose that onto a small child because it helps with numbers. If you can get them to start fighting the misery of being a Jehovah's Witness, of going out in service when it's dark and cold and raining, when you're going to have very little to no success, you are going to develop the pattern of just being a Jehovah's Witness because that's what you do. There's not like the logic and the reason. You bypass all of the mental faculties when you have this approach to it. So get them while they're young, get them into the routine, and they're more likely to stay a Jehovah's Witness much longer. So it's not about the actual preaching, but it's about the indoctrination of children, because that is where they see the greatest numbers come from. Now, the other thing that I just wanted to point out was he has a spaceship on the side of his bed, and then a little poster showing this spaceship, going outside Earth. Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe that there's any sort of life anywhere in the universe. It's only here on Earth. So just the idea that they're even showing a child that maybe is having aspirations of being an astronaut or working for NASA or exploring the universe finds those types of things fascinating, when you know as soon as he gets a little bit older, those dreams, those wishes, those goals and hopes are going to be absolutely smothered with no, there's a more important issue than, having a man go to Mars. What's more important is that you put your butt there in the Kingdom Hall and that you wake up early on Saturday morning so you can do your preaching, despite it being rainy and cold and everything. So I found that a little bit interesting and kind of sad, because whatever potential a child might have, it will never be fully realized if they grow up as a Jehovah's Witness, because all dreams and hopes are crushed, and instead you have these prescribed way of doing things and prescribed by the organization.
Positive thoughts and preparation, praying that we'll succeed. This can provide the inspiration we'll surely need. We're not alone, the angels guide us, Jesus commands them all. And with a loyal friend beside us, we'll never fall.
positive thoughts and preparation. Hey man, that is all you need. This doesn't work because what Jehovah's Witnesses don't realize is that people can do and should have personal preferences. Everything shouldn't just be, well, here's the playbook, and now you have to follow it or else you'll lose everything. So like if you're dating someone and they're like, hey, I really would just like to poop on you. And you tell them, I really don't like that for me. I don't want you to poop on me. And their response is, all you need is positive thoughts and preparation. This sort of circumnavigating all personal choice, all things that you might rather do, or goals and things that you would rather have. Obviously, we're talking about within the spectrum of things that are, healthy and good. Those, ZZ, don't sit on the keyboard. Those things that are so important to building a unique identity and a life that you enjoy, you don't really get to have that. You have someone that tells you, hey, I'm going to poop on you, and all you need to do is just have positive thoughts and preparation.
Soon we'll see joy come our way if these things we keep in mind. And Jehovah sees every effort we make, and He remembers the love we show. This we know.
One of my big problems with the preaching work, as far as it involves children, is you don't know who's answering that door. You have no idea what you could potentially be exposing your children to. When I was young and going in the ministry, all sorts of weird people answered the door. Stuff that mentally, visually, I'll never forget. You can have some real weirdos out there, and I just don't know whether or not it's a safe environment to just be trotting along your little 7 or 8 year old and just knocking on random strangers' doors, because it's a bit of an unnecessary risk. What's the value of it? What is a 7 or 8 year old going to be able to do to convince someone to become a Jehovah's Witness? Like sure, it's cute. I guess they're dressed in their little suit and they're like have their little presentation. It's kind of funny when children act like adults, right? It's a little bit cute. But other than that, it's not like going to attract someone. No one's going to become a Jehovah's Witness because they saw a kid hand them a track. It's just not very realistic. So it seems like an unnecessary risk to take in general to bring children out in service. And we've all heard of stories of people letting out their dogs when there's kids involved, having people pulling out guns and things. There have been people that have been killed out in the ministry. It's not a super safe environment. Not saying it's like happens often, but it's not a 0% chance, I guess is what I'm getting at. And then I really like the visual of the person that's not friendly and the mean lady that's standing there, Scrooge McDuck back there. Her plants were dead because obviously if you're a mean person that doesn't want to become a Jehovah's Witness, your plants are also going to die because that just logically follows.
Positive thoughts and preparation, praying that we'll succeed. This can provide the inspiration we'll surely need. We're not alone, the angels guide us. Jesus commands them all. And with a loyal friend beside us, we'll never fall.
With a loyal friend beside us, we'll never fall. Loyal friends, you might ask? Well, surely these are, elders, ministerial servants, pioneers in the congregation, people that no doubt have God's Spirit and can be trusted. And as we talked about in a video a couple of weeks ago, this is exactly what absolutely disgusting child abusers use. They use their position within the congregation to gain access to children because it creates a level of trust within the Jehovah's Witness community. And children themselves are being taught to sing these songs when they are 4 or 5 years old. They're going to be learning these lyrics. With the loyal friend beside me, I'll never fall. And they look to those elders, those ministerial servants, as their loyal friends. Do you see why this is a problem? There is way too much trust within the organization for there not to be any background checks or disclosures if people have a background or a past. These things need to be addressed within the Jehovah's Witness organization because one child is too many. And as we know from all of the cases and all of the stories and examples that have come out, it is far and away more than just one child that this is affecting. You have a worldwide issue that has to be addressed. And Watchtower needs to stop with this, hey, I have a loyal friend beside me, I'll never fall. Well, what if that loyal friend is telling your child to do horrific, unspeakable sexual crimes? It's a problem. If you're a parent out there, that's a Jehovah's Witness and you're hearing this, don't delude yourself into thinking, oh, it's going to be fine. That would never happen to me. Well, every person that does happen to probably said that exact same thing, which means it's not a good way to look at the situation. Anyway, that was that video. So yeah, preaching, it stinks, it's unsafe, and it can put your child in danger. It's going to deprive them of sleep, deprive them of dreaming and aspiring to be more, and it's going to put them on the hamster wheel of being a boring old Jehovah's Witness for however long they decide to stay in it until they realize it's all a bunch of baloney. Anyway, there is one other series that is directed at children that we got to take a look at, and it has to do with some Hebrews going into Babylon, so let's take a look at that one.
Hey there, ready for the final product? Ta-da! It's the 3 Hebrews in the fiery furnace.
A brand new series, I suppose. We're going to have some animations with this goofy little goober and his paintbrush trying to scare children by showing men burning to a crisp in fire. Now, as we know in the Bible, these people don't actually burn to a crisp because they find a magical solution to being thrown in a furnace overnight. Now, the funny thing is Jehovah's Witnesses are told that all magic is bad. There was even that Caleb and Sophia video that said this.
Fine. Look at Sparlock's magic cane.
Caleb, what toy is that?
It's Sparlock, the warrior wizard.
Whoa, a warrior wizard.
Yeah, my friend gave it to me. All the kids are going to see the movie. Can I see it too?
Oh, your friend gave this to you. You look pretty excited about this. Why don't you come over here and get your snack, okay? Is this toy magical?
Mm-hmm.
Caleb, who likes magic? Jehovah or Satan?
Satan.
Right. Magic is bad. That's why Jehovah hates it. Do you really want to play with something that Jehovah hates?
So children are steered away from Lord of the Rings. Even Star Wars is a little bit iffy. What's the Force? Is it magic? And if you ever did any, watched any movies or read any books where there was magic involved or played any video games, it was always a little bit hush because you grew up with this mentality that you could allow demons to infiltrate you. Now, as a counter to that, you're coming from someone that's not a Jehovah's Witness anymore and likes to look at things rationally. Picture this situation in your mind and tell me what's going to be healthier for the child's development. So, on one hand, you have parents that raise their kids and expose them to all sorts of various mediums, including magic and fantasy, but the child knows that these things are fake. These things are stories that people tell to convey a particular message. And then you have someone else that is raising their child, and they say, you can expose your child to anything. Nothing at all that has magic because it's evil and satanic and it's all made up anyway. But then they try and convince their child that Lord of the Rings is okay and that it's real. It actually happened. There are these ancient elves and people have all these powers. That it is absolutely real and you need to believe in it in order to find your eternal salvation. But don't watch Star Wars or Toy Story or any of those things. Those are evil, bad, satanic things. But here's the one. Don't you think that's a bit of a problem? Because that's what happens with Jehovah's Witnesses. They teach their children that these magical stories are real, that they actually happened. And when you start doing the child rearing in a way where you're teaching your children that 1 + 1 can equal 45, it's not going to do them any favors later on in life, because in order to believe those things, you have to suppress all questions and all doubts. So a child's naturally going to ask themselves or ask their parents, well, how did they survive in fire? Well, why doesn't Jehovah do that nowadays? Did their clothes burn off? Like, how does this work? Can I go and put my hand on a hot stove, and as long as I pray, I'll be fine? And the parents are like, oh, no, don't do any of that. But it really exposes it for exactly what it is. So, but the childhood questioning, instead of learning, you're going to suppress questions. Well, no, that's how it was then. This is how. It's binary thinking that they're developing through this. So, interesting one that they picked up, but let's keep watching.
It could use some work. That sure is an exciting account. But how did they end up in a scorching oven? Come on, I'll show you. It's a great story. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were just boys when they were taken to Babylon. Daniel was there too. People there were not Jehovah's friends. They wanted the Hebrews to be just like them. They gave them Babylonian names, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and food that Jehovah said they shouldn't eat. But together with Daniel, they obeyed Jehovah because they were his friends. Then one day, the king of Babylon told everyone to bow down and worship a statue. And anyone who didn't would be thrown into a fiery furnace.
So, Watchtower finds it disagreeable when someone in a position of power is trying to force someone to worship in a way that they find disagreeable. Does that sound familiar at all? You may as well replace this Babylonian guy's head with one of the governing body members, because they do the exact same thing. You have to worship in this very specific way, and if you break any of the rules, we are going to throw you outside of the safe haven of the congregation and in the fiery furnace that is the world. It's the exact same tactic. So it's always fascinating to me how Watchtower can identify a problem with religious freedom, not letting people have the autonomy to worship God in a way that they find satisfactory. But when you flip it around, say, okay, well, do you guys do that? Well, no, because we have the true God, which is exactly what the Babylonians would have been thinking. Well, no, you should worship this one because this is the true God. It's such a double standard that they have. So whenever they're like, oh, evil people trying to force religion on others, yeah, that's exactly what you guys do. So you don't come out smelling like flowers when you wade through this pile of poo.
Would the 3 Hebrews give in to the pressure of the king and everyone else around them? Of course not. They knew that only Jehovah deserved their worship. If they obeyed him before, they knew they could do it again. They declared, "Our God whom we serve is able to rescue us, O king. But even if he does not, we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold." Jehovah's friends always obey him. But how did Jehovah rescue them? Wow, what a cliffhanger. Why not read the whole story and find out for yourself? Make time every day to learn from Jehovah's friends.
So this wraps up the first installment of a brand new series for Watchtower of animated, cartoony things to indoctrinate children. Personally, I really like when they do this, especially with the more nonsensical stories in the Bible, because when you take everything in the Old Testament literally, it doesn't actually break down too well, because as you go through all of the different stories and you're saying, this literally happened, it kind of creates a lot of problems when you're trying to worship a loving God. So I'm all here for it. I think they should do this more often and really highlight the extravagant tales that were told in the Old Testament. But that's about all I got for you today. If you're still around, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and stay safe, be kind, and show yourself the same kindness that you show to others. And I hope you have a good ass day.